brings several benefits to the college, enhancing our ability to fulfill our mission and better serve our students and community. They fuel the realization of innovative ideas from our skilled faculty and staff, driving the establishment of new initiatives and specialized courses that address emerging needs of local industries. Grants provide additional financial resources to supplement and fund initiatives that might not be possible with existing funds, such as the acquisition of new technology. Grants also foster new partnerships with employers, community organizations, and government agencies, creating a collaborative network to address shared challenges. Next slide. Here at Middlesex College, the Grants Office provides support for the design and execution of grant-funded initiatives. We provide technical assistance from the pre-award period of identifying opportunities and managing the application process through the post-award stage of delivery, tracking, and reporting on progress. Historically, the Grants Office has primarily been responsible for developing grant proposals, but under my leadership, the Grants Office has evolved to encompass post-award management, which ensures compliance and alignment with internal processes, and grants accounting, overseeing financial transactions between the college and funders. Next slide. Over the past year, the department has grown to increase our capacity to manage the size of our portfolio. Positions onboarded in the past year are shown here in blue. We have Jackie, who's presenting with me this morning. She is our new assistant director. She is the lead when it comes to post-award management, progress reporting, and compliance monitoring. George joined us this past summer as our grants compliance analyst. He generates financial reports and manages all grant budgets. We also hired 2 grant accountants overseen by our controller. Naomi and Carolina execute accounting processes related to the college ledger, and they also serve as quality control for our fiscal reporting. We thank the board for your continued support as we increase our capacity of our office, because as our team grows, so will our portfolio. Next slide. Now let's segue into our pre-award activities over the past year. Next slide. This year, we submitted 2 to 3 applications a month. We were awarded 30, securing over $9 million. Currently, our office holds a 96% success rate. I'd also like to highlight the substantial growth in secured funds during my tenure here, which has grown 7-fold in the last 5 years. Some of the factors that contribute to that success is our in-house development specialists, strong collaboration with key departments and faculty, an improved approach for identifying fitting grant opportunities for the college, and crafting well-designed project plans for proposals. Next slide. This year also marked a new record for us in securing federal grants, and this slide highlights some of the ones we acquired this year. We acquired a Title V Developing Hispanic Serving Institutions program that will fund our Abriendo Caminos project and implement a more holistic approach to student support services and academic advising. We also acquired a New Jersey Capital Facilities Fund that will fund new state-of-the-art technology, including laptops, networking stations for student use in the library, lighting, audio, and computer equipment for the Performance Arts Center, computer stations for our new Fine Arts Media Lab. We also, this year, acquired community-funded projects through Congressman Pallon's office that will fund enhanced holistic student support services for adult learners and justice-impacted students. And just days ago, we acquired a second community-funded project through Senator Menendez's office that will fund workforce training programs in the fields of computer technology, welding, supply chain management, targeted towards adult learners. Next slide. Now that I've reviewed some of the development activities of the past year, I'm going to pass the baton over to Jackie to discuss post-award management.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Jamila, for handing that over. So obviously, securing grants on the development side is only half the challenge. The real excitement begins when we actually are awarded the grant. Next slide. When I mention grants management, this is encompassing of all post-award activities related to the implementation of grant-funded projects. For this process to be truly fruitful, it involves every department throughout the college, from HR, finance, IT, IR, academic departments, just to mention a few. Effective communication and the formulation of complementary policies and procedures are pivotal to the success of all of these projects. Next slide. Currently, our office oversees 95 grant accounts for ongoing project implementation, inclusive of pass-through accounts with the foundation. The cumulative annual funding for these initiatives amounts to 9.3 million and continues to grow. Jamilet mentioned an average of 2 to 3 new grant applications per month. On the management side, we typically handle around 3 to 4 reports per week for active grants. Over the past 2 years, we have observed a notable 40% increase in grant-funded staff. Next slide. As demonstrated in this graph, 83% of our funds originate from state and federal sources. Next slide. So how is the 9.3 million distributed among our different divisions? 43% of our accounts fall under academic affairs, supporting initiatives for integrating new technologies, enabling faculty the creativity to enhance student experiences, and innovative curriculum design. 40% of our accounts fall under student and enrollment services, providing supportive services, tutoring, ensuring access for students with educational gaps or receiving English as a second language. And 17% fall under our workforce development and lifelong learning area, advancing opportunities for emerging industry needs, including training and new apprenticeship programs. Next slide.
Okay. So something that I know is on all of our minds is what impacts do these projects have? Let us share some of the accomplishments. Since 2022, we have secured over $7 million to fund the acquisition of new equipment and technology through initiatives such as Perkins and Securing Our Children's Future. I mean, have you seen the new dental clinic? And I can't wait to see the new nursing sim lab once it's complete.
Well, and then we have our open textbook pilot grant, a collaboration with 54 faculty members across 12 institutions statewide. They work together to develop 27 open educational resources for students. And guess what? It saved 15,000 students over 1.5 million in textbook costs.
Wow, that is a lot. Our Success Bound pre-college program, piloted in Perth Amboy, has expanded to serve Carteret and South Amboy. Since its inception, the program has assisted 145 students in gaining college acceptance, of which 20% enrolled here at Middlesex, 4 at Ivy League institutions, as highlighted in recent college articles. And this year, 10 of the original 13 students that piloted this program graduated and obtained a degree.
Also, in the past 6 months, our resource hub has provided services to 345 unduplicated students in the forms of 1,400 bags of groceries, 230 grab-and-go meals, and 180 grocery gift cards. These resources are supported through initiatives such as the Hunger Free Campus Grant and the Community Development Block Grant. Next slide, please.
This is just a few of our major accomplishments. I could go on and on about some of the outcomes that our grant-funded projects have achieved, especially in the last year, but they gave me a time limit on this presentation, so I couldn't. Jokes aside, though, we are very proud of the accomplishments of all of our projects. And this is what we should expect in the next year ahead. Next slide. We will continue to identify new opportunities that help us develop projects to broaden our students' experiences to new horizons. We have set funding priorities to update existing facilities to support instructional and academic needs. And most importantly, strengthening the college's capacity to manage our growing portfolio by recommending new policies to inform operating procedures and increasing training opportunities, not only for grant staff on best practices for post-award management, but for faculty and staff interested in collaborating with our office for their proposed projects. Next slide. So this concludes our presentation for this morning. Thank you again for having us, and I would love to open the floor for any questions.
Great job.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Raza. Can I just ask a question and also make a remark?
Got it, Mr. Rogers.
Anybody has a more question?
I just want to make some remarks and I do have a question.
Go ahead, Diane.
Well, good morning and thank you so much, Yamilet and the team. First of all, I've had the pleasure to work with Yamilet. And when it comes to going after money, I know she's always, how can we continue to grow? But she always thinks about service and she always thinks about the scholars. And that's one thing that I really, really value about her tenacity to make sure that she always puts Middlesex College first. So congratulations to you and to the entire team. I did have a question in regards to, have there been any grants that you've noticed that we may not have been successful at getting, but something that is still, at the forefront that you feel that, as we grow, we have better opportunities? Have there been, whether they're statewide or national?
Yes, thank you so much for your remarks, Diane. Actually, yes, we did not have success 5 years ago with our student for the TRIO program, Student Success Services. We had Project Connections be funded. So that's something that as TRIO revs up this round for grant applications that we will be going after, not only for the special populations of our students with disabilities, but for our other students that are first generation low income that may not be EOF eligible.
Thank you.
Mr. Roger, may I add to that? Mr. Roger?
Mark, I don't have a proper signal, so in case if
Okay.
I don't speak, please,
I'm
Please,
gonna go ahead and thank you. I want to add
my
to what
internet going in and out.
can you hear now, Mr. Roger?
Yes, now I
Okay.
think it's a
So I wanna
problem a little bit, so I changed the room, but it's not me. But
Okay.
anyway,
I'll speak
yes,
loudly.
okay, Mr. Pelori is here, I could see that.
He is, but welcome to Andy. So I want to add to what
Okay.
Diane's question was. Diane, that was a great question. And I can say, I want to second your
I didn't get that.
I want to second your opinion of John Millette that she's tenacious. We applied for a Title V grant a year or two ago, John Millette,
Yes.
and didn't make it. We didn't miss by much. The points were close, but we tried again, working with Linda Schur and Jose Loriano, others, and this time we were successful. So I do know that we do go back and try again when we think we have a shot. And so I'm very proud of the fact that we have gone after many grants and are starting to find that we are getting grants we didn't get the first time.
I would like to add something as well, like a small comment, if I can.
Go ahead, Gabriella.
I think both Yamilet and Jackie did an amazing job. Not that it matters, but I used to work with Jacqueline years ago. And it's nice to see that she's continuing to honor Middlesex students and in different ways, and especially in grants, because it's very important, especially for adult learners. We sometimes forget that as students, it's not just about age, it's about where you are in life. And sometimes, you're in different stages and you need the extra help and you need the backing of a school like Middlesex College to be there. So great job.
Thank you.
Chairman Raja?
Yes, I think if you can hear me, can we
Yes.
go to the committee meeting?
So we're still having
report?
comments, I think. I think Gary wants to make a comment, Mr.
Yeah,
Raja.
and President McCormick, if there's an ongoing problem with his internet, I'm happy as vice chair to just,
I can't hear much, so, but Dr. McCormick, can you take?
let me.
So yeah, Gary's gonna take over, Mr. Raja. Please stay
Yeah,
on if you
well,
can.
let me ask
Okay,
a
go ahead.
question, then I'm gonna move to committee reports unless there are other trustees that have questions. I just wanted to say, just make one compliment you on the presentation. Obviously, it was excellent, very helpful. I have not really, I don't really know either of you, but very impressive. You guys make a very good tag team. And I like the fact I can tell that you have a genuine relationship. And Trustee Perez, good to hear you chime in on that as well. I just want to say, at a 96% success rate, I need you to apply for a couple thousand more grants. No, because at that batting average, we have to have you apply for everything. But really well done. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Are there any other trustees that have any comments or questions this morning?
I have one,
Trustee Oris.
I just want to say thank them for their essential work on all the grant projects. And their presentation brought to light just how it affects everybody across the board at the college with everything.
Okay. Well
Trustee
said.
Tappan,
And
Mr. Pelori raised his hand.
yes, I'll
Trustee
go
Traffic.
ahead, Ms. Trustee Pelori. President McCormick, I get it. Give me a second. Go ahead.
Thank you.
It's my second rodeo, not my first.
No, as Trustee Taffet said, grants are the life and blood of any organization, and we will not be able to survive unless we have funding. So this is a very important aspect of the college that we continue to get. Like Trustee Taffet said, at 96%, I will take anything in life at 96% hit rate. So thank you very much, and continue the good work you're doing for the college. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Pelori. Good morning. And Chairman Raja, at any time you want to take back the reins, feel free. I just feel compelled to help us continue to move the meeting along this morning, with the technical
Gary,
difficulties.
I can't hear. If you
Okay.
can hear me, please continue.
I'm going to continue. Well, thank you. So let's proceed with committee reports. And I'm going to recognize myself, if that's okay, as chair of the Finance Committee to present the finance resolutions. Dr. McCormick, assuming that's what's in order and next on our list. So
Yes.
with that, I would ask Mr. Maltino if he would, introduce. I believe we have Scott Cleland with us this morning. Mr. Cleland works on your annual financial audit report. As chair of the Finance Committee and members of the Finance Committee, we had the opportunity to meet with him this past week and go through some questions and issues. I think as a board, we'll be very pleased with the overall work product and the effort and all of the progress that this college has made. Mr. Cleland, if you are with us and can present that annual audit, please do so. Good morning. I see you. Good morning, Scott. How are you? You're on mute.
Go ahead.
Good morning,
Now
Gary.
you're good.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Frank, did you have anything to lead in with, or?
No, I was just gonna, Gary did the introduction, so we'll proceed with your report, Scott. And just for the record, it is resolution number 10 that you're elaborating on.
Thank you, Frank, and good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in a warm place as opposed to driving around the ice. So that worked out well for me, so I appreciate that. But it's always nicer to be in person to be with everybody.
Yeah, I thought I can keep the phone on, but I don't think I can.
Okay. So again, thank you very much for inviting me to present the report for the 2023 fiscal year. Before I get started, again, I want to recognize President McCormick, Frank, Jeff, Carol, Mike, Alicia, and I forgot Madeline last week, so I apologize. Madeline spends a lot of time pulling vouchers and making sure she provides a lot of the information as well. So I realized I forgot to mention her last week. So again, she does a lot to help us get the audit done. So I want to recognize her as well. You'll know that the time frame for presentation of the audit is 2 months earlier than it has been the past couple of years. The state was able to get the information out that was necessary for us to complete the audit. And once we received the information, Frank and his team said, let's get this thing done so that we can present at the mid-January meeting and be done with it for another year and then start focusing on next year. So thank you again, everyone, for getting us to this point. I believe you received a copy of the draft report over the weekend, as well as a summary from Frank. And I'm happy to report that the opinion will be unmodified, which is a clean opinion, which is the highest level a firm can place on financial statements. I always refer back to the MD&A, the management discussion analysis, whereby that's a nice 12-page summary of the last 2 years of operations and a third year presented as well, which kind of gives you an overview as to how things have changed and what accomplishments have occurred over the past 2 or 3 years. From an operating results perspective, the college operations did very well. They had an increase in net position or fund balance or retained earnings. They're all synonymous words. Your increase was 7.6 million, but keep in mind that's been lower than the last 2 years, mainly because of CARES Act drying up. Your revenues and so forth and other areas were driven by a lot of CARES money that was coming in as a result of COVID-19 and the pandemic. So as I mentioned last year, those funds are no longer going to be available after the current fiscal year. And therefore, obviously, those results will change, will result in how you budget for going forward. Frank had added a footnote to the financial statements, note 16, shows the operating results with the CARES Act and what it would look like without the CARES Act. It would take you from a small increase to a small decrease. Some other good news is that the overall revenue for tuition was up and the enrollment was up 3.4%, which is trending in the right direction. I think we went through at least a 6-7 year period where most of the county colleges were having enrollment declines. And at least in Middlesex case, the enrollment went up 3.4%. I audited a couple other county colleges, and that's not the case in all of them. So some are still showing decline or just about breaking even, but in your case, you did start to see an enrollment increase, and from talking with the administration, that looks like it may continue into the next semester. State aid and county aid increased slightly. And then from a management report perspective, as part of the audit, we look at your grants to make sure they're in compliance with federal and state requirements. And we also spend time looking at all your major control areas, being your revenues and receipts, your payroll, and your purchasing and accounts payable. And I'm happy to report we had no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, which is not where we were 3 years ago. Frank and his team have done a tremendous job turning things around in the finance office, and things are much more timely. And hopefully we continue to move the audit into the December timeframe and even make it more efficient going forward. But we're happy to be done in January, and happy with the results of the report, and I think the board should be as well. So with that, I'd be more than happy to open it up to any questions you may have. And before I do so, I just want to also recognize Irene Maglio, who jumped on, who was a manager in my firm, who basically controlled the day-to-day and was in the field quite a bit with her team. So I want to thank her for working with Frank and Carol and then Alicia to get the job done. So thank you for everyone. And again, I'd like to open up for any questions you may have. Thank you.
Mr. Clellan, thank you for that report. I will ask trustees. I just want to also, again, just reiterate that the Finance Committee has had an opportunity to review with you in depth some of your findings, and we had a robust discussion last week. I think we also socialized the audit with members, and some folks may have had an opportunity during the week to reach out. So I want you to know that we're certainly interested. I just also wanted to say that obviously, I think as a board, we're very impressed with your overall work product and where you have helped to bring us, along with Mr. Vitaliano and his team. I think it certainly substantiates all of the good work that Frank and the entire finance team has accomplished these past, several years. And so, as a board member and chair of the Finance Committee, very pleased with what appear to be the findings of this year's audit report. So for that, I just want to say thank you. Trustees, are there any questions, any comments from any of our fellow trustees this morning? Trustee Orris?
I just
I'm going to recognize Trustee Orris. Oh, I'm sorry. And then Mr. Finkelstein, right after Trustee Orris, we're going to go to you. Trustee Orris?
Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say that this report does give us a very positive forward growth indication for the future, as long as everybody that works at the college pitches in, does their job, keeps costs down, making sure that our increase in the students stays on track. and that we look forward to everything that we're going to gain from the CIO plan and everything coming together to bring this a positive report.
Well said. Thank you, Trustee Orris. I'm sorry, Trustee Finkelstein. We're doing the best we can, but we recognize you. Good morning. How are you, Mark?
How are you?
Excellent.
To receive an unmodified opinion on a budget in excess of $80 million is extraordinary, and I just really wanted to compliment Mr. Maltino and his staff for an extraordinary job. Well done. Well done. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank
I
you.
think I may have earlier said Metalliano, but who I want to compliment as well. But Frank Maltino, you have the center box. You're staring at these boxes, so you. I'm sorry, Frank. I apologize.
Right, all right. It's fine, Gary. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from any of our trustees this morning? Okay, so I think well done. So again, Frank Maltino, I want to say well done to you and your team. Really, we have come a long way in the last 5 years. I think that's a good sign. I had asked you, I'm going to ask one very quick question, just, generality. I think you kind of addressed it at the Finance Committee, Mr. Clellan. Like I said, you did a great job, but I just want you to go back through one more time, something that's been on my mind.
Enter your meeting ID, followed by pound.
And some of our fellow trustees is just in terms of, reserves and monies that we receive from the CARES Act and how we relate to, other colleges. I'm always curious if it gives us, an artificial sense of success and how we're doing, overall in that regard. So it's not like specific to an exact number, but could you conceptually, since you're dealing with a lot of community colleges, lay out where you think we are in that process and how we rank with perhaps our peers and how, we're handling those reserves and how they've, accrued in our capacity?
Absolutely. Comparing you to a couple of the community colleges that I audit, your numbers have gone from probably being below the median to above the median now over the last 3 years in terms of the improvement in your financial situation, and it's given you the ability to have the president and the board look into areas where you may want to add some funding to or designate some money for various different projects going forward. For example, you have a pretty significant IT software program going on right now, which there's funds set aside already to cover the costs of what's going on there. There's other funds set aside for, long-term projects, other capital assets, student support, and so forth. So you have a pretty good amount of money designated, and then you also have $16.9 million remaining that's not designated, which is, I guess, available for operations. So from a comparison perspective, I think your numbers have improved and you've gotten to the point where you're at that, I always use 3 months expenditures as the guide. And I think from talking to Frank and looking at this, you're pretty much in line with that right now, or getting close to it. In addition, having some nice funds set aside to meet some designations of things you need going forward. What we did talk about over the last 3 years is that the CARES funding has provided you with some additional funding to meet some of your needs, and that is no longer going to be available going forward. So it'll result in, tightening up a little bit on the budget side and making sure that your funds are available and knowing that they're not going to be there anymore, so that you're still able to grow the bottom line without having those additional funds available.
Got it. That answers my question. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from any trustees on this? If not, we will return back to the regular agenda of items for finance. And seeing none, therefore, Mr. Maltino, I would ask you if you would present the resolutions this morning, assuming that's appropriate.
Good. Thank you, Chairman Taffet. I would like to state on behalf of the finance team, it's a pleasure working with Scott Clellan and his team at PKF O'Connor Davies. They certainly have the technical abilities and the knowledge to support us, and also the college and the questions that we ask, and we challenge each other, which is a great relationship. So thank you, Scott, and your team, Irene. And I'd like to congratulate my team. Again, we're 2 months early. We did get some information ahead of time from the state of New Jersey. So that was a fortuitous gift from the state to be able to present the financial statements now. But the team did a great job in terms of getting ready for this board meeting. Thank you very much. Chairman Taffet, I'd like to proceed now with the resolutions for the
Please.
month January 2024. There are 10 finance resolutions before you today. Resolutions 1, 2, 3, and 4 consist of purchases and awards under cooperative agreements, bids under fair and open bid processes. They are for such items this year, this month, that include but are not limited to the following: technology supplies, boiler pump replacements, email security, student medical treatment, radiographic tube system under the Perkins grant, and various audio and visual equipment under grant funding for securing our children's future. These expenditures and awards are financed through various sources of funding, and they are operating funds, minor capital, Chapter 12, and/or grant funding. Resolution number 5 is for 6 contract amendments. They are contained in the resolution, from boiler modifications to software and capital improvements in our student food service areas. Resolution number 6 and 7 is for the sale and disposition of tangible property with a 0 net book value. Resolution number is for authorization of progress payments made to various contractors, architects, and engineers for construction projects on campus that have been previously approved by this body. Resolution number 9 is for the payment of legal fees to the Wiener Law Group regarding labor matters during the month of November 2023. And resolution number 9B is for the authorization of payment of legal fees to Cleary, Jacoby, Alfieri, and Jacobs for general legal matters through December 31st, 2023, in the amount of $644.93. And finally, resolution number 10 is the approval of the audited financial statements and report as presented and described by Scott Clellan, partner at PKF O'Connor Davies, and with a unmodified audit opinion. Mr. Chairman, that concludes the finance resolutions today.
Tremendous. I would like to make a motion to approve resolutions 1 through 10. I will be abstaining on 9A, so for that resolution, we would need a motion as well.
Mr. Chairman, Bob Morris, I move resolution 9A.
Thank you. So may I have a second for
Mr.
the movement of all the
Chairman, Kyle
resolutions?
Anderson, second.
Trustee Anderson, thank you. Seconded by Trustee Anderson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is carried. Thank you. Let's move to academic and student affairs. I'll continue unless Mr. Raja tells me otherwise. I would call upon Trustee Anderson to present the academic and student affairs resolutions. Trustee Anderson.
All right. I will defer to, I'm just trying to see who
Dr. Scher. I see Linda
Yes,
Scher is on.
So
Thank you.
is Dr. Scher on?
Yes.
Yes, she is.
Oh, okay. All right.
Thank you, Trustee Anderson. There are 2 academic and student affairs resolution for the receipt of grant awards. Both are from the Office of the Secretary of Higher Education. These include $200,000 from the Some College No Degree Initiative and $94,000 and change for the Hunger Free Campus Initiative. So thank you for your consideration for the 2 grant awards.
Thank you very much, Dr. Scher.
Would you like to make a motion for those resolutions, Trustee Anderson?
Like to make a motion?
Motion by Trustee Anderson. May we have a second?
Chair Taffet, Andy Pelure, second it.
Thank you, Trustee Peluri. Second by Trustee Peluri. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's move to our human resources. I'll call upon Trustee Orris to present the human resources resolutions this morning.
Thank you, Chairman. We have a report this morning from Mr. Morgan. Mr. Morgan?
Thank you. This month we have 33 recommended items in total in the areas of full-time new hires, change of status, separations, and miscellaneous actions. I'm happy to answer any questions the board has on these resolutions.
Thank you, Mr. Morgan. I would like to make a motion to approve all resolutions in the categories of hires, change of status, separations, and miscellaneous.
Excellent.
Second
We have
that.
a second. Second by
Kyle Anderson.
Trustee Anderson seconds. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. Let's move to general. I think I had one general resolution pursuant to section 5.2 of the board bylaws. In my capacity as vice chair of the board, I wanted to report to the board that I reviewed the president's expenses for the second quarter of the fiscal year 2024. I found them to be in order and am recommending approval by the board. I would make such a motion and am looking for a second.
Mr. Chair, I
Yes.
second that. Bob Orris.
Second by Trustee Orris. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. I believe that's all of our committee reports. Is there any reason to go into executive session today? I don't know that there is.
There is none.
Okay, excellent. So we could skip that. And then we will move on. Let me just see, just double checking. I don't have anything regarding the CIO report for this month in the interest of time and doing this as a remote report. I don't believe that we have Khalid Anjum this morning unless
We do not.
We do not. Okay. I would ask if there is a report of council. Mr. Hoffman, do you have any
there's no
pearls of
report.
wisdom?
There's no report.
Those were the best pearls of wisdom I've heard. Excellent. And do we have a president's report this morning, Dr. McCormick?
So Vice Chair Chapman, we do. It's a very short one and keep this meeting short. And once the PowerPoint gets up, I'll give you the brief report. There we go. Next slide, please. So it's the beginning of a new year, and we ordinarily would have had our spring convocation by now. It would have been on Tuesday, but with old man Winter rearing his head, we have rescheduled our spring convocation kickoff to the spring semester to tomorrow. So part of what I'm going to share here would have been old news after yesterday, but now it's going to be a preview of what's to come tomorrow at convocation. And I hope that many trustees are able to join. I understand if you're not, given the fact that we switched the schedule here in the last few days. Next slide. So one of the slides you're going to be excited to see at convocation with more details there is this multi-year trend chart on fall semester headcount enrollment. So all enrollment's important. It all counts. It all brings in tuition dollars. It all counts for state funding, or most of it does. But the fall semester is an important indicator, and we report that number through the federal government in a system called the Integrated Post-Secondary Educational Data System, or IPEDS. So we get to compare our numbers at the fall with the numbers of every college university in the country. And we mainly compare ourselves, of course, to other community colleges, two-year colleges here in New Jersey and across the nation. And if you look back to the very far left on the bar chart there, starting in fall of 17, you see that most of these last 7 years, our numbers have either been better when things are going north and getting better, or slightly less worse when they're going south and decreasing than our compatriots across New Jersey and across the nation. But I'm particularly proud of the last 2 years. Look at the far right-hand side of this bar chart. In fall of 2022, a year ago, when nationally we were even across the board in community college land, and in New Jersey slightly down, we were up 3%, as Scott Clellan just mentioned in our audit, 3.4% actually. And more importantly, this fall we're way up. Now there are a couple of compounding factors in there. We have an ever increasing number of students participating in dual enrollment, so part of those are dual enrollment students, which do count, although they pay less tuition. But part of it's also the fact that our great team in K-12 partnerships has been working harder to register all of those fall and year-long dual enrolled students in the fall semester so they count for the fall, which means less will be in the spring. But even so, we are still way off the chart. So again, kudos to our teams in admissions and recruitment, led by Lisa Rodriguez-Gregory and Jake Chellis, and in marketing communications led by Kim Burnett. We're doing a wonderful job. More to come about enrollment, but we did a really good job the last 2 years in particular. Next slide. The second chart's also interesting. This is our dual enrollment headcount annually. So we don't have all of this year yet because we only have the fall semester. But looking back since fall of 18, and we increased the rate, we decreased the rate for what we charge for dual enrollment in the fall of 19. So pre-changing the rate, we were at just under 1,200 students annually visiting in dual enrollment in our county. Once we started to create a standardized low-cost rate, at the time it was $125 for a course, you see in academic year 2020 and 2021, it raised and stayed flat for a bit, and then increased significantly in academic year 2022, and again last year. We think, based on the numbers we saw this fall, we'll be over 3,000 students for the total for the academic year 2023-2024 who are taking advantage of trying out college while they're in high school. And we're going to have some of the first graduates earning associate degrees while they're still in high school come across our stage of commencement in May. So look forward to that. More about dual enrollment, and I know I get a chance usually to come and talk to all the superintendents in Middlesex County at the Executive County Superintendents Roundtable that Kyle Anderson runs. We have great relationships with every single high school, public and private, in the county. There's only one high school remaining where we don't have a dual enrollment presence, and we're working on that. Next slide. This is that IPEDS information on outcomes. So you heard about outcomes with grants when John Millette talked about what she's doing with grants. This is outcomes in terms of student performance. Students who graduate and earn that degree, and students who transfer early to a four-year school before they get our degree. And so again, for the past several years, we've been going up mainly on graduation. We did see a slight decrease year to year from the three-year cohort that ended in 2021 to the three-year cohort that ended in 2022. And a lot of that has to do with the pandemic and how students performed and didn't finish during that time. But the good news is, and I didn't put this on here because it's not official, but we're going to be reporting to IPEDS any day now, and we'll have comparative data hopefully next year. We went up from 2022 to 2023 to 35% on our graduation rate, the highest ever at the college, and from 13% on the transfer rate to 16%. Combined, those are called the success rate. And so the combined success rate in 2022 is 27 plus 13 or 40, which isn't bad. The combined success rate for fall of 2023 is going to be 35 plus 16, which is 51%. Our first time over 50%, and really well done. We're going to have comparative data with other community colleges in New Jersey to get a sense of how we compare. But we are really proud of all the work we're doing in the classroom, outside the classroom, to support our students all the way to the finish line and getting most of them to graduate here. But if they don't, when they transfer, graduating somewhere else. Next slide. And you heard about grants. So we're really proud of all the grants that John Millette and team are helping our faculty and staff go after and get. But I'm really proud of the Title V grant, which is going to lean into helping students from low income, particularly Latinx and Hispanic students, come into the college, do well at the college, and move on to what they want to go to next. So we're looking forward to seeing more about Title V in the years to come. And next slide. This is the beginning of the spring semester. The slide you're looking at is the end of the spring semester, the end of the academic year. I'm looking forward to celebrating with all of you our student achievement at commencement in May. That's it. And any questions about any of the slides that I had up today?
Mr. McCormick, Dr. McCormick, I just had a quick question in regards to the dual enrollment. I'm assuming that the fee for services that's privately paid by the scholars.
So it varies, Trustee Roman. In most cases, the student or their family pays the fee, and now it's $135 for a course, which is still the lowest rate anywhere in the state. But in some cases, the high school finds the funds, usually title funds through the feds coming through the state, to cover part or all the costs. We're trying to encourage more districts to consider that. Where there's available funding from the feds or the state that can be used, that helps students who can't afford even the modest fee we charge get into the game. And by the way, I didn't mention here, but I'll mention more at our presentation on dual enrollment at the June board meeting. We were one of 3 pairs of school districts and community colleges in the state to get a pilot grant through the Department of Education in New Jersey to try to expand dual enrollment for low-income students. We put in an application with the Middlesex County Magnet Schools, and we got selected. So we'll be using that funds from that grant to help those students who can't afford to get into the game. More to come on that.
That was kind of what I was leaning towards, how can students with limited income, homes are limited income, be able to compete at that level? So thank you for that information.
Sure, it's a challenge, Diane, but we're still working on it.
Thank you.
Okay. Tremendous report as always. I do want to say, looking at those most recent numbers, you've set the bar fairly high, President McCormick. So we anticipate that continued level of success once we've achieved it. No reason not to continue it, but really is an impressive, progression. So compliments obviously to you and your entire staff.
And Mr. Tappan,
Any of my other,
I'm proud of all the faculty and staff who helped make that happen.
well said. And you're smart to be magnanimous. It takes a village, and you do have a very strong team. So thank you. Any of our other trustees, any comments or questions? Okay, I don't know if our AFT local president is here. If she is, Pat Payne, Ms. Payne, this would be your time to have 5 minutes to address the board. I don't see her, but
So Trustee Tappan, the IT staff report, they do not see Pat Payne on the Zoom.
okay. All right. Well, thank you for that. Let's proceed to old business. Is there for Ms. Roja or for us? Is there any old business?
There is no old business or new business.
Okay, excellent. You saved it. Are there any comments from the audience? Is anyone registered, Ms. Roa, to address the board today?
Trustee Taffet, we have no individuals registered.
Okay, so if we have no individuals registered this morning, I believe we can skip that. Dr. McCormick, are there any final remarks that you would like to make? And I would ask, following that, if there are any other comments from any of our fellow board members, anything else that we would have missed this morning. Dr. McCormick.
So Vice Chair Tappan, again, what I said earlier, it's not just the faculty and staff who making this happen, it's all of you on the board. We have tremendous support from an amazing board. I'm very thankful for that. We wouldn't be where we are now without all of us working together. You're right, it takes a village. Our village includes faculty, staff, students, alumni, and certainly trustees. The only thing I would also add is if you're able to come tomorrow, we're going to be open and in person. Convocation will begin at 9:30 in the Performing Arts Center, but there's a community breakfast with employees and trustees at 8:30 in the cafeteria. Come join us, come hear more. Those slides I just showed on outcomes and on enrollment are just teasers. There's more to come. Hope to see you tomorrow. If not, there'll be a live stream link that we will send to you in the morning, and there'll be a recording you can watch afterwards. It's about a 40-minute speech. Happy to have you join us if you're able. Thank you.
Okay. Chairman Raja, I want to thank you for the pleasure of allowing me to step in on your behalf a little bit this morning. This is why I drive to the office. It's the only place I can count on my own technology. As we have no further business to conduct this morning, this board is adjourned until our next regularly scheduled meeting, which I believe is set for February 21st, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. in the Parkview Room in West Hall, live and on Zoom, weather permitting, with a link to be posted on the college website. So thank you all.
Thank you.